Well, Leroy Notch passed away in 2007. I was honored to be one of his pallbearers, and I feel that I was maybe representing all of his students that he had taught through the years. And with Leroy, I think that his gift to our school system was the fact that he had the ability to take some of us kids that maybe weren't excelling in the normal school system and found that we may have talents that met the more of the trades. And so for me, Leroy was a very big influence. He gave a lot of us that went into school with some struggles in some of the normal classroom environments and gave us a haven within his class. There was probably 10 of us that I know that he directly took under his wing and guided us through these years. Leroy said every part of our society is important. The white-collar jobs are important, but also the blue-collar jobs. And he really gave us the feeling that working with your hands is something you should be proud of.
Yes, Leroy, I graduated in '72, and Leroy Notch basically got some really nice equipment in my junior year in our school, our high school. He got a lot of the Heliarcs, MIG and TIG machines, and there was a lot of vocational schools that didn't have some of that equipment. Anybody that had any good idea, he was, definitely supportive, and the thing is, if we had room in the shop to build it, he was allowing us to do that. But yeah, the bandsaws, the three-wheelers, the go-karts, the trailers, and there was hitch pins, there was, a number of things that farmers saw.
Leroy's legacy, I guess, to most of us is he had a very strict classroom environment and pushed us to the point at which we could excel in each one of ours. And sometimes that would be a little unorthodox. He would allow us to build equipment. For example, I built a snowblower when I was a junior in high school that went behind a tractor, and that to me is quite an accomplishment, but he knew that it was more than I could handle and gave me the guidance through
He had stories to tell. Of course, we all know that back in those days, teaching was a little different. The student got out of line. But, I was pretty young back then. I did have him for 8th grade industrial arts, which was awkward, as you could imagine, having your parent. But he was passionate, very passionate about the kids learning, and if they weren't paying attention, he didn't really stand for that. So, and it's funny because the more time I spend back in Paynesville now, I run into old students of his, and even if they mention they don't really get along with him back in the day, they still appreciated how he tried to get them, and they wish they could go back and try it again. So, yeah, he loved it. Looked forward to it every morning. I don't remember him ever staying home sick.
Oh, he got his hands dirty. He got his hands dirty, and he liked to talk about the things that you could do. So he was a hands-on person, and I think that his background, how he was growing up, how he grew up, I think it affected how he was dealing with kids. He could be hard-nosed, and sometimes you didn't like him because he could be very tough. But if somebody was down and out, he kind of liked that kind of person. He liked to teach kids how to use and make useful things.
Another story that I really appreciated what he did for us is that he'd build a two-man aluminum duck boat, and this was on Friday, and he was just about done with this. This thing was just beautiful. You basically could pick this thing up with one hand. I mean, it was for two people to sit in. Monday came, boat was gone, you know. Oh, you're done with it? Yep, he said he was done with it. I found out afterwards is that since the school didn't have any money for aluminum for welding practice strips, he cut it all up into practice strips for us so we could weld. So he was pretty special.
What I really wanted to do was to thank everybody for asking me to sit down and talk, and also to thank everybody very much for honoring my father at a benefit like this. It's great. My brothers and I are truly honored. But I think deep down he would really feel honored about it also. He would try not to make a big deal out of it, but I think deep down he'd feel pretty happy about it. And to know that people are pushing to get it back into the system, something that he worked really hard for and saw a lot of great benefits from, and a lot of people succeed, yeah.
I think that what Leroy Notch was attempting to do is to make sure that every child was exposed to the trades and to understand if they fit the trades. I don't think that any of us want to talk a kid into doing something that they weren't meant to do, but it also seems a shame that if somebody that is skilled with their hands, skilled with their mind and hands, doesn't go into the trades, because there is a tremendous need and there's tremendous opportunities, and somewhere along the line people look down on the trades and try to talk kids out of it. And so I think that if there's one thing we do is have equipment, having a teacher that had passion, and try to generate some interest, and hopefully if a student wishes to continue on, that they have got their start at Paynesville.